Welcome in to the Bonesville Pregame podcast. Al Myatt joined by Kevin Monroe. Kevin, of course, a great defensive back in his playing days at East Carolina in that 1999 team on which Kevin was a senior corner. Pirates went 9-3 that year. They're going to be recognized this weekend as East Carolina hosts Texas San Antonio. It's the American Athletic Conference opener for the Pirates. 4 p.m. kickoff, Dowdy-Ficklen Stadium. Kevin, we're 2-2, and the Roadrunners are 2-2. And East Carolina's two losses have been very similar. An early lead and not able to sustain the lead. And after 16-0 lead at home against Appalachian State a couple of weeks ago, 21-19 loss to the Mountaineers, went to Liberty, had a weather system that was causing problems for 4.5 hours after the game had gotten underway. But play was resumed, I think, around 10:45 after a 4.5-hour delay. East Carolina got ahead 17-0. But Liberty, which just doesn't lose at home, able to come back and defeat the Pirates 35-24. There was a turning point in that Liberty game in my mind. The Pirates had an interception by Isaiah Brown Murray, a return, a personal foul. So East Carolina had first and goal at the Liberty 7-yard line, had a procedure penalty, I believe, had a drop pass, ended up attempting a 25-yard field goal at an angle, missed the field goal. So great scoring opportunity and no points. And that seemed to infuse Liberty with some positive emotion. Their fans got into the game. They drove and scored, and that kind of, to me, was the turning point in that outcome at Liberty.
I think you're 100% right, Al. It's funny you say that because I remember texting my brother and my dad, since I don't do the away games, that good teams win games by not missing opportunities like chip shot field goals, and you could kind of almost feel it. You could kind of feel the momentum just flip to Liberty on that missed field goal, even though at the time the Pirates were still up 17-0, and that would have made it 20-0. You just felt like not taking advantage of that and getting those points kind of set the Pirates back, and that's been a microcosm of the season thus far, that other teams are making plays in games that the Pirates aren't making. And Andrew Conrad's the kind of guy that'll make a 52-yarder and miss a 25-yarder, and you don't need that from your kicker. You need your kicker to be solid 20, 30, 40 yards out. And if he makes a 50-yarder, great, but that's not expected. What is expected is anything under 40 yards. And so not to put it all on him, but that definitely was a momentum changer.
To East Carolina's credit, they did recover after Liberty had taken the lead. East Carolina had a drive and regained the lead. But Liberty was able to make more plays, I think, late in the game. Rajay Harris had a go-ahead touchdown for the Pirates, and I think that put them up 24-20. And then Liberty was able to regain the lead, and then a late touchdown really put things away. Quentin Cooley, the Wake Forest transfer, he got free on a 21-yard run after the game was pretty much decided in the late going. Jake Garcia, East Carolina had a possession to take the lead with a touchdown in the fourth quarter. And Jake, which had not had an interception to that point in the game, and interceptions were definitely an issue the first two games, he was picked off and big turnover at that point in the game.
Yeah, and I'll go back to a couple of points that you made. In the first half, I felt like East Carolina defensively was able to stop everything that Liberty was trying to do, specifically in the run game. They were getting nothing. We'd heard so much about Cooley and his abilities. I think he was averaging close to 8 yards a carry coming into that game, and they shut him down. But as you get into the second half, they made some adjustments, and that's been the criticism of Pirate fans and maybe some of the media, is that teams tend to go in at halftime, make adjustments both offensively and defensively, and it seems like the Pirates come out and do the same things. And so I did like seeing, Rajay go on that nice drive and score that go-ahead touchdown late because I felt like, okay, there's some pushback here. The Pirates were fighting a little bit, trying to make something happen. But Cooley got going in the second half, and he was finding some holes, and, they made some adjustments. And one of the things is, our defensive backfield has struggled a little bit, specifically since Revel went down, and that it changes the way we play. It changes the way that we cover, because it used to be he played plus man coverage on his side, and he'd take away a third of the field. That way you could shift one of the safeties over. You kind of help, IBM at the other corner. You could bracket some receivers because you didn't have to worry about that 1/3 of the field. And now that's changed. IBM is not to the caliber that Revel was. And so now you have to play a little bit more zone. You have to back the corners off a little bit, help them over top, play linebackers underneath. And what that does is that pulls an extra guy out of the box. And so when you're able to put 7 in the box and defend that run, now sometimes you got 6 in the box. And so that's what happened in the second half. As they were able to dink and dunk and hit some passes, they were also able to get Cooley going because they would make the right checks and getting the right play calls to keep the Pirates from being successful defensively. And so as that started to get going, Cooley got going, it really opened it up for that quarterback, and he started to make some plays. And the Pirates just didn't respond. And so, have that interception, and then they go down and score. Liberty does. It really, kind of was a punch in the gut. They got momentum. The crowd got behind the folks that still stayed around after that, late start. It just seemed to spiral on the Pirates. And although they did fight to the end, you could just see it going away from them late in the second half when they couldn't stop the run.
Kevin, Liberty 13 for 17 on third down conversions. That's kind of jumped off the stat page. One thing I'll say as I look at this up-tempo offense for East Carolina, if it's not moving the ball, you're snapping the ball very quickly, and if you throw an incomplete pass and stop the clock, you be off the field in a possession very quickly, and you're not really giving your defense rest. You're not running the clock with a lead, and that, to me, is kind of a drawback.
No question. As a defensive player myself, in my playing time, the one thing that I looked forward to was getting a great stop, having a lot of, enthusiasm, getting off the field and sitting down on the seat and getting some water and catching my breath and hearing the adjustments from the coaches and talking to the players about what we saw out there. But when they go 3 and out and all 3 plays took 3 seconds, you're right back out on the field. That's frustrating for a defensive team. That's a little bit demoralizing because you're like, man, I just want to get some rest. I'm a little bit tired, but I got to go right back out here and do this. And, things that people don't think about during a game, for instance, a defensive back, if a wide receiver runs a go route or a post route or something, that's 20, 30, 40 yards, you got to jog back and be ready for the next play, where the receiver will jog off the field and call his buddy and say, hey, take my place. And they just swap guys out. But the corner doesn't get to do that. He stays in there for the next guy that then goes and runs a deep route or whatever. So you get pretty tired out there. And Liberty was running a similar up-tempo offense to East Carolina. And so the DBs and the linebackers and those guys running around every play were getting a little bit tired. And so, yeah, it was frustrating to see. That's how the game kind of unfolded there in that second half, because as you mentioned, that up-tempo offense, when it's humming, when it's going right, you can score quickly, you can move the chains. But when you make a couple incomplete passes and all of a sudden it's 3rd and long, and you get that, defense get ready call on the sidelines, it's pretty frustrating.
Kevin, American Athletic Conference play starts this week. It's kind of like the start of a new season. And East Carolina playing at home, Texas San Antonio, the opponent. The Roadrunners, I think, won 47-28, I believe, last year in San Antonio. The quarterback, Frank Harris, that had 4 touchdowns last year, he's not with the program anymore. He was a veteran quarterback. He's gone. Coach Houston said they do have 2 veteran running backs returning. They've got a very capable tight end and some good wideouts. And I know they're going to come in and play hard. They've not won on the road this year, and it's kind of difficult to tell what they're going to bring to Greenville, because they went to Texas and got beat 56-7. And you say, well, that's the number one team in the country.
Right.
They lost at Texas State as well, which is not the same brand level as the Longhorns. But they had a win last week over Houston Christian, which I told you I'm not familiar with that program, but
sure.
Decisive win at home last week. So they're 2-0 at home, 0-2 on the road, coming to Greenville, league opener, and East Carolina is a 4-point favorite. So what has to, we're not going to get into Kevin's keys just quite yet, but
sure.
The Road Runners, what do you expect from them?
Yeah, you know what? They've been interesting so far this year. As you mentioned, they beat the teams they should beat. They've lost to the teams they should lose to. We don't know a whole lot about Texas State either, but they're obviously pretty good. They beat them 49-7. This UTSA team so far, they're averaging 134 on the ground, 247 through the air, scoring 22 points a game, but they're also giving up 32 points a game. So defensively, they've had their struggles, although you play Texas, you're going to give up a ton of points. It's kind of like us saying, Appalachian State gave up a bunch of yards through the air, but you realize that one of those teams was Clemson, and they scored 60-something points on them. So that's kind of an outlier of a game. And so we want to put too much into how much they're giving up. Just know that they're scoring about 22 points a game, and they're pretty much even as to what they do. They've attempted 150 passes so far, run the ball 108 times. And so, as you mentioned, new quarterback, Frank Harris was there forever, 6-year, 7-year senior, whatever he was. Now you've got McCown at quarterback, and he's been okay. He's completing 67% of his passes for 200 yards. They don't try to do a whole lot, but he takes care of the football. He's only thrown no interceptions, but he's thrown 6 touchdown passes. And you mentioned the two backs that have played really well. One of them over almost 6 yards a carry in Henry. So this is an offensive team that can get after you. But they've, at times gotten behind in games and been forced to throw the ball and get out of their, normally what they want to do. And so I would expect this is basically a pick'em game. Usually get 3 points on the spread for being at home. And so since the Pirates are 4-point favorites, really they're just 1-point favorite. And so that's, it's a game that the Pirates should be able to stay in. This is the UTSA is not a team that's going to blow you out. They got to work for everything they get offensively. But they can't make the mistakes, right? We talked about Garcia has made some growth along the way thus far. He's turned the ball over less, but this offense still isn't getting enough first downs. They're still not, converting on third down as much as they need to. They're not giving that defense enough rest, as we talked about. So moving the chains and putting points on the board is going to be big time this weekend. But certainly a team that they can play with and should be able to beat.
As East Carolina goes into the American Conference play, there's not really a team out there that's dominant, in terms of the outlook for the season. Cincinnati, Houston, Central Florida, they've all gone to the Big 12. And basically what it is, it's a lot of Conference USA additions. And so, if East Carolina can put some things together, I don't think there's anything to keep them from contending for a league title.
There's no question. It's the issue, Al, is not knowing how to win close games. And so you get into this UTSA game. They did find a way to win that ODU game, and that was a close one on the road. That was good. But then they go back-to-back losses in close games against good opponents. And so this will be another quality FBS opponent. We haven't beaten an FBS opponent in Dowdy-Ficklen in a couple of years now. And so we've got to find a way to, if this game gets close down in the fourth quarter, to make the plays, make the interception when you have the ball hit you right in the hands. Don't throw the interception when you're on a nice drive to go score for a touchdown. If they can do those things, then yeah, they can win games like this and start to put together a little bit of a streak. And as you said, they won't be playing the toughest schedule in the world, which is why I was one of the people that was saying I'm okay with the 2024 schedule because I knew our program isn't where it needs to be. And we don't need to be playing Clemson. We don't need to be playing Virginia Tech and West Virginia and teams like that. that are going to come in and put a bunch of points on us, or we're going to go to their house and get beat up on. We need to build some confidence and get this team back to where they feel good about playing anybody anywhere, which is where the Pirates used to be. And so you're right. They finish off this season, they will have a lot of games they should be in and have a chance to win.
Kevin, that 1999 team, which will be recognized this weekend, was 9-3, and the Pirates were winners. I mean, they really had some challenges that year playing West Virginia and Charlotte to open the season. You went to South Carolina when Lou Holtz had come in to rebuild that program. That Miami game is just legendary in Raleigh. And then the first time NC State ever came to Greenville. And you had to, by the way, had to win over Duke in the process. And
that's right.
That team knew how to win. And maybe some things will rub off this weekend, hopefully so. But what are you looking forward to most about kind of reuniting with some of your teammates?
Yeah, just seeing those guys. There's a lot of guys I haven't seen since 1999, honestly. And, I keep in contact with quite a few guys, Andrew Bays and Jeff Carr and Forrest Foster, some of those guys. But a lot of them I really haven't seen. Guys moved away, and we'll see them on social media and keep up with them that way. But haven't had a chance to actually, have a conversation with them or see them in person. So I'm excited to see some of those guys. But you're right. We finished that 1998 season 6-5, and we had to kick a game-winning field goal at Memphis to win that game in '98. And so that's how, the year before we were 5-6 and didn't finish with a winning season. And so we get one more win the following year, and we had a great nucleus of guys coming back. Quarterback was 1 year older, and David Garrard, and we knew that we could put together some wins, and we knew how to win that close game. And so going to Charlotte and win that opening weekend against a good West Virginia team, Mark Boldrick quarterback, and then coming home to play Duke. Carl Franks, I think, was the coach at that time. Scotty Montgomery came in as one of the star wide receivers, and we pretty much, got after them. And at that point, we knew we were good, and we felt like we could go and make a nice run, which we did. Hate that we couldn't beat Southern Miss at home. That was an opportunity we had to really, make a statement. I think we were ranked like top 15, 17 in the country at that time in that game. It just didn't go our way. But, yeah, that was a team that knew how to win, won every game they should have won with the exception of the UAB game, which was a huge letdown. Every time else that they lined up, we were in those games, and we won the ones that we should win, and lost, obviously TCU and Southern Miss in those games that we probably should have lost.
All right. Well, Kevin, I guess we can move into that Bonesville tradition, Kevin's keys to the game.
Yeah, I like this setup. I like what we have going on here. This home game against UTSA, it's the right team for the right time. I think it's a beatable opponent. I think you have a new quarterback coming in that I think just started one game last season, and you got to get pressure on them. This Blake Harrell defense likes to dial up pressure at times. I think this would be the perfect situation to get after a quarterback, and so I want to see the Pirates put pressure on the new young man early in the game. And stay on them. That's going to help the defensive backs. It's going to give them an opportunity to make some plays in the secondary. So force McCown to make some mistakes. He's not throwing any interceptions yet. He's been completing passes at a high rate, almost 70%. So put some pressure on him, get him on his backside, and get the game tough for him. Offensively, got to get Rajah Harris going. He's been the back that's been the most successful. Not saying you got to only stick with him. I'd love to see Gunn and Bond and get some carries as well. But Rajah's been the guy that's been averaging over 4 yards a carry, making it happen, had some nice long runs. Got to get him going in the run game. Establish that run game is going to open things up in the passing game. And then Garcia's got to protect the football. We say that, almost every week now because you almost have to, but he's been better recently, just late in games, these last couple games, he's thrown some interceptions that we could not recover from. And then lastly, special teams, you just have to be better in the kicking game. You can't miss chip shot field goals. You can't leave any points on the board. You've got to go and make all those plays. 40 yards and in, Conrad's got to be lights out. And so that's how you beat this UTSA team.
Very good. Kevin, I hope you have a great weekend visiting and maybe talking about some old times with the 99 team. And I hope you guys have an opportunity to congratulate the 2024 Pirates on their first conference win. I'm looking forward to that, and I'm looking forward to the Bonesville Pregame podcast next week.
Appreciate it, Al.